And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Barnhart College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but once a month we sit down with two creators for a three-way interview where we talk about their each of their designs, how they intersect with each other, how they're different from each other, and what drives them forward. Today we've got two amazing folks who we have gotten the chance to work with through Zine Club or through direct releases, because we've worked with each of y'all in a couple different ways. Really excited to have Kelsey and Devin on. I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the game that the other person is going to be interviewing you about. So you just have to talk about your game, not their game at this point in time. So let's start with you, Kelsey. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about World of Dice.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Barnhart. I'm a writer, game designer, actor, all this stuff. And I created World of Dice, which is a three-part world-building game to help you create a fantasy setting of your very own.
Awesome. Super excited to dive deeper into it. Also, did you release last year, or did we release last year with you?
No, it was just this January. It's my first one.
You just missed winning an Ennie by 1 month. Maybe next year, we'll see. 25 new Judges Spotlight Ennie winners from
There we
Zine
go.
Club Year 2. But cool, awesome. I knew it was close. I just couldn't remember whether it was January or December. So because we send things to print before we ship them
Right,
out.
right.
So awesome. Super excited to have you with us here tonight. I know we've been trying to get you on for the last couple months, so glad we could make it work today. And then we've also got amazing direct release Indie Groundbreaker Award nominated Pale Dot creator Devin. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and a little bit about Pale Dot?
Hey there, I'm Devin. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a game designer, composer, rock musician, and I'm on actual play podcasts and stuff as well. I'm here today to talk about Pale Dot, which is my GM-less / GM full sort of space exploration game where you play as aliens exploring their sort of surrealist cosmos and having a sort of whimsical, existential, and often philosophical journey.
Awesome. Huge fan of both of these games. Devin's also been great to work with. We printed The Conservatory, which just got its second print run. Congratulations on that, which is one of my favorite evolutions of the Quiet Year that I've played. I love the way that it kind of bookends this arcane institution you're building. But Pale Dot, we did a crowdfunding project for, successfully funded, gorgeous book, really cool play. Really excited to dive into it. Both of these games kind of have in common exploration or building of the world. So our question to just kind of get our conversation started tonight is, what's your favorite fictional world to play in? It's going to be one from an IP. It can be one from a home game. It can be from anything that you just kind of love the idea of, or would love to kind of play around in or enjoy playing with in some way, shape, or form. Since Kelsey introduced him first, Devin, why don't you start us off for this one?
Fiction, that's kind of hard. I haven't done a lot of established IP play kind of stuff.
Oh, let me clarify. This could be I just wish that I could play around in it. It does not have to be an actual whatever. It could be a video game also too. Anything that you think would just be a rife world that's fun to play
in. Interesting. Oh man, I should have thought of an answer to this question when you warned me about this.
That's right. I can kick it over to Kelsey real quick if you want.
Yeah.
All right, Kelsey, what do you got?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, it's a really broad question, right? But I think when you said a game that you'd really like to run in, like a setting, the first thing that popped into my mind is Disco Elysium. I don't know if either of you have played that. Incredible game, kind of a game that really cracked my head open on what a role-playing game can be when there's not combat as a focus. I love the whole slow reveal that you're in a Soviet era fantasy world, they're in their post Cold War era, post Berlin Wall era. It's so very cool in the ways that it's similar, and then the things that are different are so different. I would love to play a game in that setting, which I think started off as a tabletop setting
Yeah.
originally. So
Yeah, and it's got a very RPG vibe to the mode of play also too.
100%.
Hectic Electron in the chat, also great world builder. Chris says +1 to Disco Elysium also too. Chris, glad to have you with us. If you're out there watching, tell us what fictional world you would want to play around in. Yeah, have you checked out Ambition yet by Yanni and the Press
I
Mechanics
have
team?
not. Is that
We did a multi-part actual play of it. You should go watch that or go look on GameFound from last year's RPG party for Ambition. It's not out yet. It's going to be two kind of big old Lancer-sized books, ones
yeah?
that finally ships out. But
What the hell?
it's got three modes of play. Like there's like a very freeform FKR, like just kind of say what you do. Maybe you make some die rolls, maybe you don't. It's got very tactical combat rules, and then there's a social combat setting also that's very like Ace Attorney vibed and coded, where you're like trying to build
Oh,
and resolve arguments to defeat the other person. But instead of stats, you have 36 voices that like you can tap into. The hardest thing I think for the GM for that is literally like learning to incarnate all of the voices is kind of a
yeah.
skill you have to do. But Yanni does a great job of kind of like helping create guidance for that in the play. It's tremendous. But anytime somebody brings up Disco Elysium, like that for me is like one of the ones that like the game that I think does it best with a lot of people using it as a touchstone for things. And so
Yeah, I mean, I brought my notebook because I was pretty sure I would get a bunch of game recommendations. So I'm like, I have to write all these down.
yeah. Awesome. Devin, how about you?
Two kind of cop out answers. One of my favorite franchises is the Final Fantasy series, just because I really like how each one is like a really unique take on fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
They all have like things in common with each other, but each of them as a fantasy setting is like pretty unique when you like think of like what is a fantasy setting and like what's going on in the like meta and big picture. And then my other cop out answer is like in terms of like stuff I've actually played in. I was on an actual play podcast called Oath Sworn, where we played Band of Blades, which is like a
Oh yeah.
game about being like an army retreating from the apocalypse.
Oh,
And we had this like world that was like one of the first things that we established that was that the sky was like the rotting corpse of a dead god, and like the whole world itself was just sort of like falling apart and crumbling at the seams, and that like the horizon, the ocean and the sky were becoming like a singularity. Like I just love like surreal physics
Yeah.
in a setting.
mm,
Yeah. I think there's tons of things out there that do like JRPG style well, Break, Fabula Ultima. There's a lot of really cool
Mhm.
ones out there that can bring in some of that. I love the tropiness of that. In like you're saying, everything is individual while there's still these kind of like common beats in a way the narrative is kind of like wrapping around itself. Band of Blades is good,
Mhm.
and I think one of my favorite ones kind of kicks up to what you were saying. Like I love Hellboy. Like it's one of my
Mhm.
favorite worlds that has been built. But Apocalypse Keys, the play that we got to do with like Ray and Josh and folks on stream was like one of my favorite plays of that game. And every time I sit down to do it, the world building elements of that and kind of the surreal, hey, like maybe you're here to save the world, but also maybe you're the thing that's going to destroy it, lets you exist in a lot of really like kind of surreal like liminal non-spaces as you're traveling through things, especially with some of the adventures like Oldest House, which is very like control coded, and some other things like that. So
cool.
yeah, there's just a bunch of fun worlds out there, all kinds of things that you can play in. And the reason we bring that up is because I think in different ways, each of the games that y'all have created, exploration of the world or building of the world are huge parts of that. Whether that's through curation or actual generation, like they're each doing very distinctive things with that. So I felt like it was a really good kind of a launching off plate to start exploring like some of the things these games have in common. Kelsey, we're going to start with you for the first question as we kind of dive into the main interview section. Remember, we'll just kind of go back and forth, each of you asking each other questions. You don't have to wait for me to cue you. If you've got a follow-up question like to an initial one, feel free to hop in with it. You don't have to wait. Make it as conversational as you want. If I've got thoughts or ideas, I'll hop in, and then we'll end with our final three questions that we always end with. But Kelsey, what is your first question for Devin?
Yeah, I mean, first off, like such a cool game. Like I saw when they sent me, what I would be reading through and playing through. I got so excited. I literally pulled this off my shelf because I had this sitting on my shelf. Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot, like all the references
Hmm.
and stuff were so cool. One big thing that really jumped out at me though was I feel like when playing a lot of space games, the sense of scale gets kind of lost. Um,
Hmm.
I'm curious as to like how you because this game feels so big, like it treats the universe like it's big and scary. Like how how important was it to like maintain scope or like kind of keep locked in so like space never felt fully explored? Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
how did you achieve that? It's great.
I kind of didn't exactly approach it in that direction is probably how. Um, I am a big sci-fi reader and I've read a lot of like hard sci-fi. But despite like enjoying that stuff, that's not a space that I felt would be fun to design because I feel like at that point you're worried too much about like simulating things. Like I wanted
Right,
to make a space exploration game where you didn't really need to worry about like hard physics.
right.
Um, so I leaned more into the sort of mystery angle of space, um, of like, the game itself is framed around solving some sort of cosmic mystery that's affecting the like main characters and their homeworld. Um, but I wanted the like physics of the universe itself to be sort of strange and confounding. I wanted the like creatures you run into to not make sense. One of the like key roles that a player can take on in the game is called the Tides of Uncertainty, which is basically like you get to embody all of the space magic and like things that you can't understand, or you know the like classic sci-fi idea of like technology you don't understand is magic. I think
Hmm.
Arthur C. Clarke, that kind of stuff. Like the unknown being the like big part of like what makes space interesting to explore. Um, and also the danger of it. Like one of the key mechanics is anytime you move between two places in space, you need to like overcome some sort of dangerous element. Um, though to be fair, one of the biggest inspirations for the game is the video game Outer Wilds, um, which is sort of like a space like adventure game. And in that game, you can like move between all of the planets in a matter of a minute. um, the thing that was interesting about that game to me was like the universe being sort of this like clockwork thing that kind of shifts and rotates, and on a time scale certain things change. And I liked that idea of it, where there's like a puzzle box that your solar system itself is a puzzle box.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really cool because, like you said specifically, like you were trying to avoid having to get really crunchy with like the physics and like numbers and like hard gameplay like that. You know what I mean? Like the deep second edition
Mm.
style math, but like in so doing, it seems like you kind of hit the what's the one that everybody Project Hail Mary. Like it feels a little bit like that. Like you still kind of managed to achieve that like vibe, which is really cool.
Awesome. All
Mhm.
right,
Oh yeah.
Devin.
Also, the obviously the Carl Sagan reference was on purpose.
Yeah.
Um, that's more in sort of like the philosophy of the game of like, oh yeah, we like traveled all the way out there and we look back at our own world and it's like a pale blue dot. It's nothing. We are
Right.
tiny specks in the scope of the universe.
Yeah, we're on the shore of the cosmic ocean.
Mhm.
Awesome, Devin.
Um, Yeah, I have a couple questions. This is not really a question. This was just a comment when I was reading the book. In the like first part of the Empire of Dice, I noticed that like the first couple questions you can answer are also a couple questions that you could answer at the beginning of a Pale Dot game. So I was like, oh wow, there's
Yeah.
like a small little Venn diagram here at the very beginning of this book in terms of like
Hmm.
answering like, oh, who are these people? Where do they come from? What is their environment like? How does that shape who they are? How does that shape their like ideologies? So that was just a comment that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Super
One
cool.
thing is I have a big design question. I've played a lot of like collaborative world building games, but this is the first one I saw that had like explicitly a GM role. Um, and I saw in the like GM tips you like referenced the idea of like building your world, or like this thing hasn't been established in your world yet. And I was kind of curious about like your intent with like player authorship, collaborative world building, and then also like the presence of a GM in all of that.
Yeah, so the reason it kind of came about like that was when I had originally created the first one, Deity of Dice, the second section where you're all playing as like gods and things. I had started running it at a 20-sided store in Williamsburg because
Heck
I was like,
yeah.
hey,
Shout out.
hey,
Hi, Lauren.
hi, Lauren. Um, but the big thing was is that when her and some of the other employees there were pushing people to come to my events, I was getting a lot of people that were really, really new to just the idea of fantasy in general. And I was finding that so many people kind of
Mm-hmm.
needed to be given permission to be creative. Like they got a lot out of having me, the game designer and the person running the event, sitting at the head of the table being like, yes, that's a great idea. Talk more about that. And
Mm-hmm.
then that kind of got folded into the idea that you're going to play this before your year long D&D campaign or something like that, where um, you have one player who's their job for the rest of your time playing together is to create everything and make everything up. So in this initial thing, they're just getting purely player feedback, player control, and trying to like tie all the disparate elements together. Um, I thought that was really fun because I thought I didn't mean much in the same way that Pale Dot is that like letting people feel like a section of the world is theirs, their thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Interesting. I
yeah,
have a follow-up question with that
yeah,
though.
please.
Um, do you think like there could be a mode of the game where you sort of axe that role, where you kind of like decentralize the that authorship?
100%.
Because
And
like
I've,
I
I've
bet there's a lot of people that would want to like use that as a world building tool to like make a world and then play a completely GMless world in it, or GMless game.
Yeah, totally. When I played it with my parents, who have again just no impression of like tabletop or really fantasy. Like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter is about as deep as it gets for them. But that's how we played
Mm-hmm.
it. Is like I just sat down as another player because it wasn't like we were going to jump in and I'm going to then be the dungeon master. Yeah, we just played it completely jamless, and I think just because of how open the game is, like it works very easily that way. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that actually brings up like an interesting thought in terms of like having people that need permission to be creative, like
mm,
having the quote unquote GM, the more experienced player in that regard, also taking on the role of the player to like model and demonstrate, like, I'm going to go through the steps and show you like what I create with them. Like,
right.
now you go.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
I
I
think.
mean, what?
Go ahead, Kelsey.
No, 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 that's
I was gonna say, I do think there's an interesting, like almost like Uno reverse of that question, like because you did create a GMless slash GM full game in Pale Dot. Like, what are ways
Mm,
that Devin you like explicitly try to in your design process like help overcome that? Because I see that a lot. Like even a lot of GM full games like Wander Home, lots of times will have like, well, you've got a kind of GM. It's the facilitator. They're walking folks through. Like how does Pale Dot kind of approach that same desire to free people up and give them permission?
yeah, that was like a tricky thing because I did want, because like one of the things I was really worried about is that if it was a GM'd game, then it would require prep, because there would need to be some person that needs to like imagine what the mystery you're trying to solve is. And I wanted the mystery to be like unveiling itself as you go. I wanted it to be like, oh, we all take a step forward with the mystery, like individually, like on our turns. Like I wanted it to be sort of this like we're all building the like, we're all building the mystery together. Um, in terms of like It's hard. I wanted everybody to have their own little, like we said earlier, like little slice of the world that they have authorship over. That's like the if you haven't seen the game before, there's setting elements, much like other like belonging outside belonging games like Dream Askew, where each person takes on like a sliver of the world. Like one person plays the flora and fauna, one person plays the like space magic, one person plays the like ancient aliens, one person plays the like forgotten tech or the current tech. Um, and the fifth one is the most like actual GM coded. So if there is somebody in your group who is like, oh yeah, I like putting everybody in danger. I like putting problems in front of my players to solve. That is one of the roles that you can take on. But specifically in the design, I had that be either completely shared, like you sort of rotate that, or everybody contributes ideas. Or if you have 5 players, then one person plays that, and that's like the most like suited for the person who wants to be the GM.
Love it.
But in terms of like guidelines, I don't know. It's kind of a vibes based game, so I've played with people that need a lot of guidance, and I've played with people that just kind of like just fell right into their roles. It really just depends on who you're playing with, and I don't know, like any game, you might want to have somebody who is like really familiar with the rules to guide everybody through it, or just see what people come up with.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, you do have to answer 2 questions in a row because I did step in there. So,
That's
Kelsey,
fine.
I think it's back to you question wise.
Well, actually, I mean, that makes it a little easier because my next question was kind of related to the same thing. Like, how did you land on the elements? I wrote the elements system. I don't know if that's how you, but like the elements for each of your player, like the ones that you ended up
Mhm.
using, because I thought it was really cool to be like, there's no GM. We're going to take the GM and we're going to split it up into 5, character classes or narrative classes and give everybody
Mhm.
one. How did you land on which ones you wanted to use? How you wanted to decide on that? I mean, you talked about that a little bit already, but like, how did you decide that was the right system?
Um, well, like I kind of mentioned earlier, the game is really inspired by Outer Wilds, the video game, and um, like I said before, it's like a mystery game. But the thing about that game, it's like an amazing emotional journey. Like I loved every second of it, but it's a mystery. So like once you solve it, you kind of like ruin the surprise a little bit. Like I still enjoyed like watching people play it. I can like play it vicariously through others, but like that
Right.
hit you get from like, seeing it all unfold for you the first time is not like a really a repeatable process. So I wanted to make a game, like a tabletop game that like emulated that same experience just because it was such a moving piece of media for me. Um, so I kind of like used that game as a framework. So in that game, you're like these kind of aliens from a backwater world. They're kind of a Americana coded. They're like sitting on their like porch with a banjo in their rocking chair, except they have
Yeah.
like 4 eyes and are kind of scaly. They're like weird little guys. Um, and a big element of that game is even though they're kind of like these just barely fledgling cosmonauts like figuring out how to like leave their world, there's a lot of stuff left behind that is like sort of guidance and also stuff to explore. So I knew I wanted there to be like an ancient aliens element, but I wanted a player to be able to interact with a thing in the world that they weren't controlling. So like if you were like an alien that was really interested in ancient alien technology, then there's another person who's going to be embodying that. So like you have somebody to play off of in terms of like what your character's interests are. um, I wanted there to be surrealist space magic, so that was like a really clear one that like came to me pretty early on. Um, and the like Star Trek, Star Wars kind of vibe was interesting in terms of like going to these different places that all have like different environments and different creatures. I wanted somebody to be able to control all of like, and there's always somebody at your table that like likes making up like weird animals and um,
Was me.
like weird little freaks that you run into. Like that's always going to be a clear interest for somebody. um, and honestly, the fifth one, the what I call the omnipresent danger, the one I described earlier as being the most GM coded, it's actually kind of the hardest one to come up with because like it could, like, all of your other elements could embody something dangerous happening to you. But I kind of liked the idea of like shifting narrative focus. It's like, okay, yeah, I described this like huge like worm that's going to eat you, but now we shift to the other player. Like I invented the weird worm, but now I'm passing that weird worm over to the person who plays the omnipresent danger so that they can like try to eat me with it.
Right,
Passing the
right.
worm.
um,
It's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Uh, I was actually I was talking to a fellow game designer, Sylvan Lawrence, and they were going to run a 6-player game
I love
of
Sylvan.
it, and we were trying to collaborate on coming up with a 6th element, and we actually couldn't do it. I was like, oh crap! I feel like we kind of all of the stuff that you would want is kind of embodied in these 5 already. Um,
Yeah.
but you know, if any game designers want to make a hack of Pale Dot and add a 6th setting element, I'd love to see what somebody would come up with as like a 6th sliver of the setting.
Uh, Also, if between you and Sylvan, nobody could come up with it. Like Sylvan, the current game they're working on has so many different elements that are so like I think I'm trying to remember how many backgrounds are. It's over 20 different like little sub like setting elements in their current game that are all distinct and don't have a ton of overlap. They are a great person
Yeah,
to
it
have
sounds
like
awesome.
to pick the brain on. Have you been talking to them about it?
Yeah, they told me about the game. I don't know if it's announced yet, but it sounds
I
really
mean,
cool.
they have a it's called it's Fame, right? Like I always want to call it
Yeah, Fame.
something else, and it's not. So Fame is their current game.
It's a
It's
David Bowie reference.
yeah, it's up
Oh,
on itch, but it's basically about like it's non-problematically American gods coded a little bit, or it's about the
oh,
Mhm.
relationship between like fame and worship and deification and other things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is
Sylvan's local to
super
my
super
area,
good.
so I run into them at like Bay Area gaming stuff.
Oh, love it. Logan did just kick out weird little freak element as the possible 6, which I know is kind of in flora and fauna. But just, I mean, it
that's
could
good.
just be
Yeah.
the skeezy merchant who keeps on
Sure.
like this is just the weird NPCs. And so uh,
Yeah, I'd
uh,
like to invoke my weird little guy.
uh,
There's a weird little guy here. I don't know.
I feel like
Uh,
everybody is able to evoke a weird little guy with their element. I feel like weird little guys are you know
in each
element
thing.
uh agnostic.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And so it's the meta. Uh, what are you buying? Excellent. No, I love that. I love that build and that question though. Devin, what's your next question?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if I was just like reading this as a game designer and having like thoughts about like what you can do with the tools in front of you, but I was noticing that each of the like 3 games had like a, oh, this is when you play it kind of explanation. But I was wondering, is there any way to like do simultaneous like play with all of the games? Like the example I was thinking about was like, okay, well, you're doing the civilization part and you're like generating a place that's like, you know, centered around worship of a specific god. Then could you like
Mhm.
switch to creating some sort of divine thing? And then when you're doing the divine stuff, there's like the all of the myths about them like overcoming different like antagonists and entities throughout their like history, like because could you then transfer over to the like fiend part and like make the fiend that they like battle in this like ancient tale that like explains like where the god came from? Like I was like wondering like is it are you able to like jump back and forth between the like different games rather than playing them in sequence?
Absolutely. Like I don't see any reason why not. And I think that would be a really fun idea. Because of course, like I said, I did all 3 of them separately, and then like just sort of being like I did Deity of Dice, and I was like, oh, I want one with demons and devils, so I'll do that kind of flavor too, and then I want to do the little nations one, so I'll do that flavor too. So but yeah, that would be I think a really fun way to do it. Like especially because of the ways that some of like the myths that your god can get specifically calls out like mortals or a group of people or an ancient evil or something. I think that would be really cool. Like if you wanted to have these really clear lines of like world lore, because the way I had initially approached it was I kind of wanted things to get lost or have loose ends or random elements that didn't come to play later, because that's the way that a lot of like the mythology of our world is, right? Like we have these sort of
Hmm.
truncated stories, and that was initially what I was trying to assimilate. And then when I saw that like it could be powerful for like a setting building thing, that would be so much fun. And now I really badly want to do that, like create a world with a group of people and just bop, 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 bounce back and forth each round for the things.
Because all of the games themselves are kind of like little worksheets, so you can kind of just like
Yeah,
pass around the tables and just be like, okay, well, yeah, we're talking about this city, and like, oh, what is the like domain of the god of this city, and like what is like a myth about them? Because then that would shape like the ideology of the people in that city. Like,
right.
I don't know. I think I would have I think more fun like jumping around in this game than I would like doing each like siloed.
Oh, totally. Like it's the kind of thing that like if I was running for a group of very experienced people, I would like something like that would be really really fun. But like I said, it was came out of that necessity of design where I was playing with a lot of people who get
Yeah,
bogged down really easy with new rules. Um,
yeah.
but man, that would be really fun.
I mean, it feels like it would even be fun to be like, hey, we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna be running a game. There are just 3 people sitting over here, and anytime you're like, hey, we're in a new place, we need the god of the temple that we just got got
Oh,
to.
that's
Like, y'all hit it. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. Come back. You can tell us a little bit about the god, like as we explore this place, right?
yeah,
Yeah, like
Um,
mid campaign.
just
right,
mega
right.
game it out. Yeah, like it could be super fun. I will also shout out because of the tone of the conversation. Hectic Electron is in the chat. Defy the Gods opening world building section, if y'all haven't checked it out, is tremendous. Like some of the stuff y'all are talking about, like you talked about like how the ideology of a god might shape this, like the patron of a city is going to shape the. You're doing a lot of that with the city you build at the beginning of Defy
Cool.
the Gods. The Defy the Gods, like Defy the Gods being a great game on its own. The world building elements at the front, if you're playing in any sword and sandals or sword and sorcery setting, like even if you're not playing Defy the Gods, which you should be, like picking it up and looking at those world building elements is like really great for kind of nailing some of that stuff down also too.
Right on. I'm always looking for more like creation stuff like that. Because that was like why I wanted to make this game initially, was that my favorite part of any video game is character creation. I mean, even tabletop games, I love creating characters. So like the impetus was like, what if I made a game that was all creation?
Yeah,
So that's great. I'm gonna check that out.
yeah, it's super cool. It's
Uh,
and I've yet again distracted us. I think that was Devin had just asked that question.
yeah,
Hmm.
Excellent.
They answered it.
Yeah. No. I just want to make sure because I had jumped in that I lost track of where we were at for a second. Kelsey.
yeah. I thought one of the kind of most interesting elements was that with this kind of narrative, with like this like space exploration as a narrative, you so rarely see returning home as an aspect of the game, right? Like we talk about like I
Hmm.
talked about like Project Hail Mary or like Outer Wilds. You kind of don't really return home. That just sort of resets. Spoilers, but
Hmm.
um, and I liked one thing in particular that I saw was that you have to like address if people notice that you've changed. Um,
Hmm.
how did you decide to bring in that kind of element, that going back to the moat um, was something that kind of essential, because if you're exploring your solar system, your universe, whatever it is, while you're playing Pale Dot, it's kind of inevitable that you will eventually have to go home at some point, right? If you want to survive and do whatever your mission is to completion. How did that like come about as a mechanic?
I feel like that's where a lot of the like sort of Carl Sagan influence is. Like back to like the original premise that I like kind of stole for the inspiration of the game of like, you know, being at the edge of the solar system and looking back at Earth and just like seeing the insignificance of it. Like that's like a heavy thought, especially because um and it's one of the chapters in one of the first chapters in that book where he's talking about culture and religion and history, and you think about all of these like massive events that have shaped the human race and world history, and it's like, damn, all of that like happened on that tiny little speck that's like nothing compared to the everything of everything else, and it's that's like that's a lot to consider.
Yeah, yeah.
So like if you're like go out there and you like have that sort of revelation, you have that existential crisis, and then you come back, like how does that change you as a person? Um, Especially because one of the elements of the game that I described earlier, the Tides of Uncertainty, the like space magic one, the like ability of that element is to like give somebody a vision that like changes something about them. So like change in the characters is also mechanized. um, I wanted the space exploration to not only be about like finding what's out there, but also about like finding oneself.
Yeah, it's
I think one of the lines I said in there was like, uh, uh, um, it's like some return not themselves, some return more themselves than ever.
That's a great
yeah,
line.
that's great. Yeah, it's oh gosh, it's called what is it? The overview effect, about like astronauts
Mm-hmm.
that like go to space and they see Earth for the first time. They come back and they're like, oh my god, it's all connected. We're so small.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Buzz Aldrin when everybody tells him that the moon landing was fake?
No, I
He like
haven't.
freaks out.
Of
Yeah, it's
course,
like,
it's
what do
like
you mean?
I was there, man.
Yeah, I accomplished one of the greatest feats in human history. It was all fake. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
sure,
fine.
sure. Yeah, right.
My work is worthless. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember reading that when William Shatner got back from his space flight, that he was just like on the verge of tears. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He was just like, "You guys, we're doing such a bad job."
And look at what astronaut Katy Perry has been up to in the meantime.
Oh, shut up. Dating Justin Trudeau or
Trudeau,
whatever.
great, good job, girl.
So apparently space works a lot of the time, but not all of the time.
Not all the time. It's not definitely not guaranteed.
I mean, hasn't Jeff Bezos gone up there too?
I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
think it's giving him
maybe they
any
didn't get far
perspective.
enough out and look back. That's the
Right.
problem. And when
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
private, when it's privately funded, it doesn't work the same way. It has to be government.
Yeah,
funded.
sorry.
He was out there. He was out there, but he was too busy looking at his phone, coordinating union busting and stuff.
Yeah. Logan in the chat is right. We just got to leave him out there a little bit longer. Give him
or a
Put
lot
him
of
in a
it longer.
spacesuit.
y'all start going.
give him a
We'll
push.
tell you when to come back.
Oh, jeez.
Excellent. All right.
That's great.
Any follow-ups?
Tell him that warehouse workers are trying to go pee on the moon.
There you go.
Yeah. Get all the way there quick.
Right.
Get some write-ups up there real quick.
Awesome. Devin, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, this is actually kind of a follow-up from like something you were saying in the like previous question I asked. Something that stood out about the like deities section was how you're like defining them through like stories and deeds. Despite being this like such a fantastical game, that felt like very like real life coded to me, in terms of like all of these like stories about gods being sort of like the original fiction, like the original fanfic, like the so many people's belief systems being developed through like, oh yeah, what did these like guys get up to? I'm kind of curious like what your inspirations were there and how you like tried to mechanize it.
Yeah, that's good. It was because it's a little bit like what you said, right? That is what stories are like in the real world. And I have been a D&D game master for like 15 years. So like interacting so much with that, and like one of the biggest gripes I always had was the way that they handle gods, like, and trying to get
Yeah, like
away
what
from.
is what does Pelor get up to? I don't fucking know.
Right. Like what are his myths and his legends? I want to hear that one little story about how, he showed up on a farm to some farmers, and, they gave him some water and XYZ, something from there.
Mm,
Like, and especially once you start reading about like mythology and, well, ancient religions and things like that, and how they came up with a lot of these stories we know today, is that they are basically, fragments of little things that got retold over and over and over and over and over again, right? Because the gods are reflections of the needs of the people that follow them, right? they are they're not static figures. Like, just to give an example, like Poseidon was originally the, like, I think the chief deity of Greek mythology, but then people's farming became more important than island hopping, and so they switched to this sky god that they could pray for rains and good weather, and like, so I incorporated that kind of element. Like, your god can lose all their domains and be completely redefined because these invaders came, and you didn't have a god of war because you guys have never been to war and that kind of like builds a little bit of a natural history. And
mm,
the thing was always just to give players things to have opinions about, you know like at
yeah.
the end is like, I'm playing a cleric or a paladin, or even just like a member of this religious order. um, I wanted them to be able to like tell stories about the god instead of having to turn to the GM and be like, okay, well, what do I know about this guy? Can I roll a religion check to see if there's an appropriate story about, my god that can help in this situation? It's like, no, I remember you did X, Y, and Z, and like that's why I chose to follow them.
Yeah, I love weird domains. I was recently reading the Silmarillion,
Yeah.
and like there's like a goddess of grief, and I'm like,
Hmm.
how does that fit into the world? Like, what do we do
Right.
with that?
Right. And then when you think about it, it's just, especially when you look at like uh, how many gods from ancient mythologies have so many more domains than you initially thought. Like,
Hmm.
you know, uh, like, why
Like,
would you
doesn't
need a god of
Dionysus
a?
have a bunch that you like would not think would be associated with him?
Yeah, 100%. Like, he's also like a god of violence and battle and all these other things, and
Yeah,
yeah, as well as like festivals and revelry
he's
and
a god of
wine.
insanity.
Yeah, he's Dionysus is one of the oldest and most just buck wild, like, mythological figures ever. There's so much like stuff that has been buried about, but that was, yeah, I wanted them to be multifaceted. I wanted them to feel like, if I was already the god of, lightning, and I just got this
Mhm.
other weird domain, like I got farms or something, or farming, why do those go together? And it kind of push you to think of stories, think of reasons. What aspect of farming then, if it's that kind of thing, and invite players, because like that's that thing that I was talking about with like kind of inviting people to be creative, because a lot of times I would get that reaction, which was like, how am I supposed to be a god of love and death? And I was like, I don't know. Why would a culture make a god of love and also of death? Like, how do those things come together? And then you start to, everybody has an immediate instinct of like how those things could be related. And then
Mhm.
you move on. Well, maybe it's about like the grief of losing a loved one. I was like, that's really cool. That's a unique take on a god of love and death.
Yeah, this is a quick tangent, but it made me think of something. I was in a stream game with Adam Bell playing his game, Locked Room Murder Mystery game. If anybody's heard of that, it's like a GM-less game where you like kind of solve a mystery together.
Hmm.
But this we did a really fun session where we were all we all made up a bunch of like gods of like different domains, and the like event that somebody got murdered at was like every some amount of years, all of the gods go to this island and they have a meeting to decide like, okay, who has what domains need to get updated. Like, oh, the god of the forge now becomes the god of video games because like, culture has moved on. And
Right,
like
right.
which domains like aren't relevant anymore. Like, I like the idea of like, over the course of the different rounds of play, you're like getting new domains or losing domains, or like that's also like interesting ways that like history can be shaped.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to sneakily teach people how history works. You know? It's like, ah, dang, you learned something. Ah,
Cool.
yeah. I think next question is mine. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, actually, this is more of just like just to ask you to talk a little bit. I really love the cosmic objects, and specifically, like you were kind of asking me with like, how did you boil them down to these art? Like you boiled them down to these kind of archetypal things, right? Like I specifically remember one that was like the Sun Chapel, um,
Mhm.
where if you're a sci-fi nerd already, you have an impression of what that might look like. You might think of Warhammer 40K first, or maybe you think of something like Life Force, where it's that floating ship with the sexy alien vampires in them. Like,
That's all I think about.
I mean, uh, um, so I guess I want to just like know a little bit more about your inspiration, your process of coming up with the different kinds of cosmic objects. Like what kind of things like you felt needed to be in there. Like I saw the obviously the traveling moon, which is Outer Wilds, like right there, which was really cool.
Yeah, there's a
But
few things
yeah,
that are like direct references.
yeah. But yeah, so what was
I
that
don't know.
like? Like, yeah.
It was it's the same way that like when you're like in a GM position, you like, okay, what are some like cool stuff that I can throw at my players? What are some like cool settings that I could put them in? And then I like took a step back in abstraction. I was like, how can I make this thing vaguer so that like it can be interpreted in a bunch of different ways? Like, yeah, like I loved the idea of like a crystalline church that was like orbiting right next to the sun, but like I wanted to like leave that like mysterious enough that like when somebody chooses that cosmic object in play, they can like let their own imagination take them to like what that thing is going to be. So like you said, they're kind of archetypal, but I wanted them to still be like really weird. So I didn't want it to just be like, I don't know, here's a gas giant.
Right, right.
I instead was like, oh, here's a gas giant where like, oh, that one was the gas giant in my game was inspired by I think it was one of the recent satellites that we sent by like the gas giants that like recorded a bunch of like sound, and the like sound was like haunting.
Oh, yes,
Like,
yeah.
so I was like, the gas haunted. Like sort of layers of abstraction like that, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm taking things from real life and I'm kind of making them like weirder and fantastical.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And like, and to get so many that you were able to like kind of like you said, something specific, and then you kind of pull back a little bit. You're like creatively half loading the gun is really cool. There's so many cool things in there that might like my I could have immediately been like, oh, I could create a whole like adventure just based around this thing.
I've never heard the phrase half loading a gun, but I'd say that's like a big part of what I do as a game designer.
Right, right. It's like if you want more, you have to put more in it, but might be an uncouth metaphor.
It's
I love
couth enough.
narrative scaffolding.
Uncouth enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, narrative scaffolding. I like that.
All right. Devin.
Hell yeah. Um, I only had one more question prepared, but let's see. Oh yeah, for the fiends section, I was kind of curious about how that kind of came about. for two reasons. One is that like a lot of them are very like fantastical and or influenced by the divine. So I'm like, it's kind of curious where it's like, okay, well, we're obviously doing some sort of fantasy setting where we have these like big, powerful like entities that are like causing trouble that we need to deal with. But it's like, okay, well, like you can kind of do that in the like divine section as well, because like gods are not inherently like good.
Right.
And I was also curious about the decision to do it that way, in the sense of like, well, sometimes like really interesting evil people are more mundane, like a politician or a king or like a cult leader. Like, why did you specifically want to make all of the like fiend options like like fantastically or magically like powerful?
Right. That it was kind of a few things, right? Part of it is again the that trap. I feel like a lot of people game designing for their first time fall into, which is trying to fix D&D, which I've already talked about. But like, uh, I didn't want to just be like, because a lot of the things that we think of like demons and devils in fantasy are older cultures, gods that some other group of religious people came in and was like, no, that's bad. So I wanted to make sure that people had fun making something like just explicitly evil, like just go off and make the worst guy you can think of, or what,
Hmm.
horrible monster. And there's a few avenues to like not do that. You can be a giant animal or something like that. But I wanted to bring it in such a way that like you got to have a lot of fun making a crazy monster, and
Yeah.
thinking about um, what is because in that last game in Fiends of Dice, you guys are playing as these essentially what are like archdevils, right? And I wanted to make sure that in the same way as in the gods section, you were feeling that like you were very powerful. Like you didn't have to again, you didn't have to turn and ask the DM, is it okay if I do this thing? It's like, no, man, you're the most evil guy and you're in charge. Like you love war and blood. You don't have to ask me. You're ultimately powerful in this way. And as far as like keeping those evil things magical, I was having a hard time initially thinking about how those are still world building things, if that makes sense. Because a lot
Hmm.
of what we get in like fantasy role playing is that like that monster, that demon, that spirit, that oni or whatever exists in dreams. And how does that? It's kind of hard to think about how that impacts the real world. But by making these, using that like again old school D&D idea that they are kings of evil or something, that they can do stuff just by willing it. They can affect the world in the same way that the gods do, right? Um, and I guess it was more just about putting more power in players' hands so that they could um, create cursed artifacts or know that there's a cult out there or know that there's a corrupted politician because they they were playing as that demon who corrupted that politician. Because then the idea is you go straight from Fiends into your campaign, and the DM has a ton of stuff to start like pulling from to be like, this is you guys remember when X, Y, and Z happened, and this person spent all this time to get their demon to take over this big city. Well, it worked, but most people don't know that, like that kind of
Yeah. Yeah, I was mainly asking because it's like, oh, what, like, not to keep dragging Jeff Bezos, but like,
thing.
why isn't one of the devils just
It's
like a guy
fine.
who has lots of money?
No.
He'll survive.
Yeah, I wish, but I didn't. I genuinely didn't think anyone could be that evil. I guess I wasn't as creative in my vindictiveness as Mr. Bezos.
Hey, you're talking about teaching people how to read history.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Love it.
My next one will be oligarchs of dice.
Yeah. I'm going to
That's a good
ask a couple
one.
questions, Kelsey. If you've got another one, feel free to toss it out afterwards. Uh, uh, Mints and Rabbits noted earlier on in the conversation that it feels a little bit like Pale Dot and Scavenger's Reign are cousins. Are you a Scavenger's Reign fan, Devin? Or was that an influencer? I think that came out after a
I
lot of the development
am.
on this game was done.
Yeah, I watched it after I wrote the game.
Yeah.
If you want a really good Scavenger's Reign game, I recommend Exquisite Biome by Karo Assertion.
Yes.
That is like the Scavenger's Reign game in terms of like, here's a fucked up ecosystem where this thing eats that thing and this thing eats that thing, and we're trying not to die while we watch them eat each other.
If only there
So
was a
fun.
place that you could get both of your games and Exquisite Biome by Caro, that would be so amazing. Certainly don't go to plus1exp.com and search for all three of those games. Because then
Also,
you'll
both those
lose
games
money
have the
because
same.
they're all there.
Both the covers of those games were illustrated by Cy Sweetman.
Yeah. So I did such a great job with all the art in both of those games.
Oh wow! I never
Well,
would have
not
guessed because like there's
a
so
lot of the art, and yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. And then I'm going to just pitch this to you, Kelsey, as a question, and pitch us. Hectic Electron wants to know what would a mashup of these two games look like if you were gonna pitch a mashup of your two games. What would you do, Devin? You're welcome to
Planets
hop
of
in here
Dice.
also.
Planets of Dice. I mean, you're
No,
right. Yeah.
no. It's the sequel, Worlds of Dice. You got an S.
Ah, that's good. I like that. I mean, yeah, I would be on. I would do something like that. I mean, it was what I was thinking while I was reading Pale Dot. I was like, should I do a sci-fi version of this where you like build a solar system? Because like this is really cool. And it kind of just like got my mind racing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Super cool.
But yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, like you could just like fuse the first two sections of both of these games. Because in my game, it's like, okay, like everybody lists a fact about the creature, everybody lists a fact about the world, everybody lists a fact about like the rumors of what's out there. And like in your game, it's like, okay, yeah, like where are they like in their environment? What is their natural resource? How does that affect like who they are? You like explicitly said, like, are they human? Are they not human? Like
Mhm.
you could kind of ask some of those questions within that same sequence. So like there already is some overlap for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That would be so much fun. I would hate to have to explore this solar system with some of the like demons and devils that could come about from my game. Doing some of the hazards in your game would be terrifying.
Awesome. Excellent. Let's hop into our final three questions. Unless Kelsey, you have anything else before we dive into that? Anything else you were burning to ask?
I just have one comment.
Yeah.
It was funny because before I saw the inspirations section in Pale Dot, I wrote, has the vibe of Carl Sagan running Spelljammer after he just played Outer Wilds for the first time. And then I got to that. I was like, oh, hey, there's all the inspiration.
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly it. Except that there was also a bong involved.
Awesome. Let's dive into our final three questions. First one, and we'll start with you, Devin, for this one. Is what is one small thing? This can be word, phrase, question, prompt, piece of art, anything, no matter how small it is or big it is, that stood out to you from the other person's game. Just like one thing that really hit you when you were reading through it.
It was more so the like context of like talking to Kelsey about it now, about like how it was explicitly designed with an audience in mind. And I feel like that's something I don't consider enough when I write games. I kind of just like write whatever gobbledygook is exciting to me, and I don't think about like, oh, like the average person in a game store, like what is their experience and like how can I cater to them to like have a more welcoming experience for like somebody who's like completely new to the hobby. Especially introducing the idea of like, oh yeah, you get to make stuff up. It's not just like you're playing somebody else's like fantasy novel. Like it's a seems like a really novel way to like get people into more narrative games by like giving them permission to do creative stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that is such a great thing that a lot of folks don't think about. And as a publisher, I spent a lot of time talking to creators about. Awesome. Kelsey, same
The sauce
question.
is easy to get lost in.
It's people are like, I don't know how to create a back cover, and I'm like, that's fine, baby, I got you. Like, send it to daddy. And,
Right.
here's the template I'm going to use, but like I can also write it all if you want me to. So yeah, Kelsey, same question.
I'm like I said, I think it was my first question. Like the thing that jumped out to me most was like I feel like a lot of because I've played a lot of these kind of like space and exploration and that kind of thing, and like after a while, especially when it's like video games or something, it can you can kind of lose that sense of wonder. And this Pale Dot really seems to be concerned with above all else preserving that sense of wonder and in space, which is I love it.
Awesome.
One of the things I'm proudest about this game is that I've never had a session feel like another session. Even though like we will might go to the same cosmic objects and read some of the same prompts, like the story has like never been remotely similar.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's like with World of Dice, that was kind of my gauge as well. Is like, okay, I ran it once, and that was really fun. I'm gonna run it like 12 more times. Is it gonna be the same? And it ended up so wild and different every time. It really kind of convinced me that like there's no such thing as an uncreative person. Like people just need to be asked the right kinds of questions before they're like, I had one specifically the very first time I ran it with a girl who had no experience whatsoever. It was like her first fantasy thing, like not even Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and it was something like her god was able to give a boon to her people in order to save them. She was like, my god unleashes a huge herd of these rabbits, and they have like little turtle shells on them, and
Hell
they're
yeah.
really easy to catch, and they have a lot of meat, and like that helps the people survive through the winter. And she's like, "Is that okay?" And I was like, "That's the coolest thing I've ever heard of."
It's always great when people do
and
an
speaking
amazing.
of wonder,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say a different thing.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say in terms of like preserving wonder, we I had one game where we did an anti-wonder game where like the more our Dustlings learned about the universe, the more despair they felt, and
Ooh,
like they ultimately like went back home miserable and fearful of like everything that was out there. And I was like,
shit,
wow, we like subverted the whole theme of this game and it still worked.
that's awesome.
I was gonna throw out, and I think it still matches that, like, but that time when people are like that tendency to check in for like, is this okay? It's really great with new players when they're just like they do the coolest thing and then they're like, was that right? And you're like, that was 100% the right thing. But I
Like,
think, Devin, that builds with like experienced players, or as people get deeper into a game, like the ways that you start to manipulate and subvert, like the tendency, you stop asking for forgiveness, like you're guys kind of like
Mhm.
working with the rest of the people at the table, and either in sync with each other or have set out to do a certain thing, but you're no longer asking permission from the text, right? And you're no longer seeking validation
Yeah.
like from other people, but really just moving within the narrative. And like both of those, like from the beginner standpoint, and then when they reach that mastery, but like you've built on all that, it's just such a cool transition to see people go on. And so yeah, it's absolutely tremendous. So
Oh, speaking of that, I'm working on producing a Pale Dot actual play at the moment. And in that game, we somehow managed to put a BBEG into Pale Dot. I didn't think it could be done.
I love it.
But there's like a villain, and I'm like, I don't know how we got
cool.
here, but
I love it. And so
so stay
excellent.
tuned for that.
Kelsey, what's one thing you never would have thought of if you were designing Pale Dot?
Uh, oof. Not just the separate or going GMless, but separating the roles of the GM as they as it relates to Pale Dot specifically, separating those roles and giving them to players, I think is so strong because I feel like a lot of GM-less games, um, they you still kind of have to reference the book. It's a little bit of a guidebook. I mean, in this, obviously, you say specifically someone needs to have read the whole book. Um, but kind of, yeah, like doling stuff out is not only a really clever solution, but it feels a little spacey, right? It's a little bit like Star Trek. It's like you're the science officer, so you're in charge of this. You're the security officer, so you're in charge of telling us when we're in danger, and all the way down the line.
Oh, the game is explicitly against that, though. So if
Oh,
you play the flora and fauna, you're not allowed to play somebody who's interested in biology, because the whole point is that like you want somebody to play off of.
right. But I mean, like, just like in the narrative sense of like when is it happening? Everybody's got their light switch that
Mhm.
they get to turn on and decide it's time for.
Totally.
So which I like, that kind of even punctuates it a little bit more, right? Like you see somebody who's not playing, they're playing the biologist, and you have that light switch. You're like, hey, I want to talk to you for a minute. Like, I'm gonna throw down this element.
Yeah. Devin, same question. What's one thing that me forgetting what question we're on because my brain is fried
I
right
I
now.
never would have gotten to if I was designing Roll the
As you
Dice.
were designing this game, yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned it earlier, but just like the idea of having sort of an explicit GM role within a collaborative like world building thing, like I've never seen that before, and I never would have thought of that. And like I totally get how it works for the demographic of this game, as like, yeah, you need somebody to like push people to like get them to do their best work sometimes, and like it's kind of interesting to like facilitate that. I never would have thought of that.
Well, also just to get people out of their corner, right? Because like some people will
Mm-hmm.
take to the creativity really well, but they're going to sit in their little corner of the map that you guys are drawing, and they're just going to play with their god stuff, and they're just going to make their people and their myths, and you as the GM can be like, well, you had this thing happen, and this person is in charge of, not to keep using the same example, this person is in charge of storms, and you just had this thing happen. Maybe we can tie those two things together in our world lore.
Yeah, love it. All right, now the kind of inverse of that is if you had designed this game, what's a Kelsey signature move that you think would have made it in, or what's something that you would have done differently or tackled in a different way?
That's a really challenging one. Oh my goodness! I don't think I would have been able to resist uh, some level of like species creation. I probably, not to shout them out again, but exquisite biome style. Like where we all have like a little round where we sit down and we make our little freaks. You know. Um,
I've seen people pitch that idea of combining those two games in Discords multiple times at this point. I think
yeah.
somebody just needs to do it.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. And then Devin, same question. If you had sat down to design a World of Dice, what's something that you would have done differently or added in?
I don't know how I would mechanize this, but I would want to make the god stuff even weirder, where it's like who who's telling me this story? Like, is it a reliable narrator? Are these stories true?
Oh.
Like, I like the idea of the stories, but like maybe you do the same story again on a different turn, but the details are different because like it's a different myth from a different culture about the same god, and like
Mm-hmm.
some way to like make it unsure, like, do we actually know any of this shit, or do we just like repeating this shit because somebody told it to us? Like
Dang.
putting the perspective of the stories more in the hands of like the people who tell the stories than like the true embodiments of the gods themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here's Homer's account of the Trojan War, and here's, yeah, exactly. That's really cool. I like that.
love it. Awesome. Chat, last chance for questions. If folks want to find your other work, the stuff you do, want to follow you as a creator, let's give you all a chance to kind of talk about that, shout that out. Devin, you do a lot of different stuff outside of game design. You mentioned actual play. There's a custom original soundtrack for Pale Dot, also too, for folks. Tell us a little bit about where folks want to follow you. What's the best place to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm Devin Decibel pretty much everywhere. Most of my stuff's linked on my Blue Sky, devindecibel.itch.io. The aforementioned soundtrack is on devindecibel.bandcamp.com. That's where also I have a lot of my like commission music work. I do a lot of themes for podcasts, soundtracks for podcasts. I also have a emo rock band called Gloomy June that I play guitar and sing harmony in. Kind of a different vibe.
Awesome.
What else am I up to? I'm on a new actual play podcast called Genre Space, where we're playing Court of Blades in like a cyberpunk revenge story. I have the podcast I mentioned earlier. It's called Oath Sworn. I do a lot of different stuff.
And you're gonna be at Gen Con also too. Are we doing a signing for you? Do you have a signing time slot signed up for?
I didn't sign up for that. No,
it's okay. We'll
but
do it
if
afterwards.
It's not too late. I can.
We'll do a signing
okay.
at the booth at some point during Gen Con. It's pinned to the Gen Con channel in the work server. Go check it out. But yeah, we will all be at booth 44. Not all of us, but Devin and I will be at some point at booth 449 in Gen Con. I'll read his IPR on the map. Because it's us, them, and then 4 of our great friends, Goose Poop Games, More Blueberries, Breitbart Games, and Graphbound Games, all in one section.
Damn, stacked.
500 plus titles and creators represented within 6 booths at Gen Con. So swing on by if you're going to be there. We'll be announcing some stuff about that next week, but I'm excited to see Devin in person. Also, too, Kelsey, if folks want to follow you, where's the best place for them to do that?
You can find me at the Kelsey Barnhart on Instagram. As far as the other things, like I said, I'm an actor, a writer. You can get my comic book Tower from A Wave Blue World. I wrote that with my buddy Cameras Johnson. We got nominated for Best New Series at the Ringos, so that was really cool. And then I also have a podcast, Cinemanomicon.
Nice.
Cinemanomicon. I know, where we talk about schlocky horror movies from stuff that you might have missed that we think that you have to see. I do that with my fiance, who is a burlesque performer, Logan Longfair, and another actor and writer, Kwame Berry. I think that's the things that I do.
Logan got the proper spelling in the chat for us also too, and so
look at her go.
So excellent. We have a ton of stuff going on over the next couple of weeks here at Plus One. So by the way, if you want to support amazing games like this coming out, the best way to do that is to go to rpgzine.club. Check it out. It's a great way to help new and emerging games get made. We just won an ENnie for the year 2 collection of that. It's 25 distinct games that came out through that, 12 from each of the 2 different flavors, story and adventure, plus a bonus game, Picaro, that came out as part of Zine Club last year. Super exciting. Really excited to go. We've got a couple other things that we're up for in the ENnies, including a couple nominations for Tomb of a Thousand Doors. We've got a lot of friends who are up for nominations also, and you can vote for us for fan favorite publisher over there also. The big thing that we have teased a little bit and should have a post up about tomorrow, though, is next week is Wizard Week. What's Wizard Week? Every day, I will be sitting down with Jay Dragon and a couple of special guests to talk about their new game that's funding live right now on Kickstarter, 7-part pack. So we will be taking each. I do not have enough time to explain this game to you. You will need to come back next week so that I have. It's going to be 7 90-minute episodes, so whatever that is, or I have 10 and a half hours to explain it to you.
I hear everybody talking about Wizard Madness. I think that's what's going on over
Wizard
there.
Madness is going around. Wizard Week is, but basically it's Shark Week meets 7-part pack. So every day we will tackle one wizard, one part of the pack, and have 2 special guests on who have played that wizard to talk about their experience playing it, dive into what they do in the world to give people a deeper dive into how the game is played and how it comes together. If you've ever wanted to transcend and become a god, or blow a hole in a planet, or take a kid out for a day swimming in the ocean who's just had a really hard childhood, or duplicate a chair because monks are fighting over a chair and you're like, I can duplicate it, and then there's two chairs, it's fine. These are all things that you can do and then talk to your wizard friends about when you get together once a month in the 7-part pact. And so super excited.
Shark Week meets Wizards is the
Shark Week meets
greatest
Wizards.
line.
And so very excited about that. We should also, though we're double checking just to confirm because it's a busy week, have Avery Alder on for our next episode of Show Me Your Moves. So we will be talking about belonging outside belonging and other elements that have evolved from Avery's practice of designing around PBTA design on that monthly show. The week after that, we're going to Gen Con, baby. So we already gave all the spiel about that, but we have 4 new titles dropping specifically for Gen Con that we are tremendously excited to get out and into the world. New solo hack for Mythic Bastionland. Dreadnought's a panic engine, so the same game system that powers Mothership. We've got the maiden voyage of that launching, and then a reflection on the cultures of play by Sean Four, and some other fun little secret things we're not going to tell you about yet. You got to show up to find out, or pay attention to our email list, because if you're not coming to Gen Con, we'll still send you an email about them that week, and you'll be able to order them, usually with free shipping in the US if you are not able to make it also too. We'll see what we can do about a cheaper international rate also too. That's a lot. It's all kinds of big stuff. If you want to get these games plus Exquisite Biome plus Defy the Gods, I'm trying to think of other games we talked about that we sell. That's enough. That's 4 games. Go get them.
Ambition.
Go Ambition. We don't. It's not out yet, but go follow it over on GameFound. Get updates about it. I think late pledges are open, so you can get it at ttrpg.link/ambition, because that will take you over there. Until next time, this has been great, everybody. But now you've seen us, and now you don't. We'll talk to everybody later. It's the worst sign off ever. It's so good.